I'm playing Dragon Ball Z Sagas! Dragon Ball Z Sagas was going to be a big deal. Well, a big deal for Dragon Ball games, at least. It came out in 2005, and up until this point, all we ever got for console DBZ games were always fighting games. All of the Budokais, Tenkaichi 1 was coming out later that year, and this was going to be the first action-adventure game. And it had co-op! Co-op Dragon Ball Z! That alone made me excited for the game. And hey, surprise! It sucks. It sucked so bad so many years ago that it prompted me to write one of my first ever video game reviews and post it online to GameFAQs.com. In fact, it's still there. This is the first Dragon Ball Z game to be released on all of the consoles at the same time. And Xbox, poor Xbox owners, this was the only Dragon Ball Z game that they got. Although it might be better this way. Like going into an important fight without Chaozu. I have problems with this game before it even starts. For whatever reason, they decided that you can only navigate the menus using the D-pad, not the control sticks at all. Sure, it's not so bad for the PS2, but the Gamecube's and the Xbox's D-pad suck. It's a minor annoyance, yes, but it's just the tip of the iceberg of stupid design choices. And in the opening cutscene, everything about Vegeta looks wrong. Atari called Dragon Ball Z Sagas the first ever free-form destructible sandbox DBZ game. This was, of course, a lie. It's a linear beat-em-up. And a very bad one at that. The first level has Raddatz as the boss. And we all know Dragon Ball Z has a huge cast of characters. So then why am I not allowed to choose who I get to play as? Goku and Piccolo fight Raddatz, so why can't I play Piccolo? Goku is dumb. You don't even get to play as Piccolo until the fight with Cell. Why not just give me a choice? Or better yet, let me use Vegeta through the whole game. It actually doesn't matter who you play as, because every single character is the same. They all use the same combos, share upgrades, and the only difference between their signature attacks is the name that they shout. You know, graphically speaking, the game doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's brightly colored, it runs very smoothly until anything happens on the screen ever, and the character models look how they should. At least until the camera zooms in and then you realize that their faces are... There's something just off about the movement in this game. You run around at comically high speeds, and it's hard to keep control. It feels a little unresponsive, especially when just trying to turn, as it seems like every character wants to Tokyo drift instead of just head into a new direction. It gets to be a pain when chasing down enemies. You know how in the show all the characters are always flying around and clashing at ridiculous speeds? Almost all the battles seem to happen in the air rather than on the ground? Dragon Ball Z Saga's interpretation of these fights is to make everybody run around, punch awkwardly, and to make flying useless. Seriously, there's almost no point to flying. None of the enemies are flying. You can only fly as high as you can jump. You can't go up or down. So if you see a Z coin floating above your head at the beginning of the level, you better go find yourself a high up platform, jump from that, and then fly all the goddamn way back through the level just to get a Z coin. And collecting any sort of item is cumbersome because of the terrible camera. The first problem is that you do not have any control of it whatsoever. It'll move on its own, and it moves all the time. It'll constantly jerk to the side whenever you progress through the level, and it'll go back when you try to return to get an item. Combine that with the weird drifting controls, and you end up having unnecessary frustration. But even when it's not moving, the camera is still a big issue. You know what makes any kind of fight scene cool? Getting right up into the action and seeing every punch thrown. Not pulling the camera so far back that you might as well be playing with action figures. This is the standard camera, by the way. It's almost always pulled back, showing way too much screen. And when it does zoom in, it's too close and usually hides enemies on hilltops firing at you, and you can't target them back because you can't see them because the camera is a bigger enemy than the actual enemies. Okay, the combat. It's boring and it's dumb. At the beginning of the game, you have so few options that it makes the original Golden Axe look like Turtles in Time. You can punch a bunch, kick a bunch, or throw a Ki Blast. The Ki Blast is only good for hitting some guys on hills that you can't reach and breaking some rocks. And some cars. And this bush. It's hard to explain without having you play it, but the melee combo system is unreliable. Like, every input is so delayed that it can actually throw off your timing on the more elaborate combos you unlock. Plus, a lot of the attacks just look stupid. Like this one. What the hell is that? What kind of attack is bailing on a handstand halfway through? It just makes the fighters look silly. Of course, there are the signature attacks, which you do by holding down the key button. It slows down time, darkens the screen, and makes them shout the name. Unless you're Vegeta, who both grunts and shouts Gallic Gun at the same time.
Gallic Gun!
Anyway, on the first level, all you do is beat up some Cybermen, collect capsules to increase your maximum health and ki, and get Z coins to purchase upgrades. It happens on every level of the game, but there's always a part when you're fighting some dudes whose only tactic consists of running directly at you flailing, while people on rocks you can't reach shoot at you. It causes you to bounce around and take a bunch of damage, and this early on in the game, you don't have a way of defending against it. This should have been an obstacle in later missions, not at the beginning of the game when you can't do anything about it. I eventually make it to Raddatz and oh my god, look at his hair! He looks more like a rejected Sonic the Hedgehog fan character than a Dragon Ball Z character. Here's another stupid design choice they did with every boss battle. The arena you fight any boss in is littered with collectibles. So you spend the first 5 minutes of any major fight by running around, breaking rocks, and picking things up while a boss is hammering you with energy shots. They couldn't just put them in the level leading up to it? Those stages are filled to the brim with collectibles, what's a few more? So I fight Raddatz and he beats my ass in. This is pretty much how it goes for almost every boss. You can lock onto enemies, but it only makes fighting worse. Instead of letting you strafe around your target or something, it freezes you in place and forces you to move through quick dodges. But the dodges aren't very quick, and they don't go very far. You'll still get hit. And using the control stick in the direction you want to dodge in is another battle you can't win. I found it much better to ignore the lock-on entirely, unless you're using it to aim a signature attack. The best way to beat any boss is to spam your energy attacks. This means a solid 10 minutes of hearing this over and over, then powering up, and then more. And in between, you'll hear them yelling stupid stuff like this.
Nice!
We'll see about that!
Every 20 seconds. Even the bosses know this is the best way to win. They'll spam energy attacks more than players do. Actually, I take that back. I did find an easier way to win while fighting Nappa. It turns out that if you just hit them a couple of times and never finish a combo, they're too dazed to react and you can freely hit them until you win. I seriously repeated 2 punches and 2 kicks on Nappa until he died. This works on every single enemy, which is almost necessary later on as you can only fill your Super Saiyan meter with melee attacks.
How'd you do that?
One of the worst parts of the game happens on Namek. There's an escort mission with Dende. And rather than have him follow you around or move around slowly while you protect him, he literally flies to the center of any fight, stays there, and lets his dumb ass get shot while you can't find the enemies hitting him because of the camera. I failed this part because of this. It's the same when a bunch of generic androids attack and you have to protect Capsule Corp buildings. They don't designate which buildings are the ones you need to protect on the map or how damaged they are, you're just supposed to know. Why is it that after 6 hours of playing the game, they just now suddenly thrust me into a training situation in the hyperbolic time chamber? You have to finish combos to earn stars before your opponent. Hey, that's great, that teaches me combos, but why not do that at the beginning of the game against, say, King Kai or something, instead of after completing 11 stages and having done each combo dozens of times? And this training sequence happens twice. Do you remember when I mentioned that Atari called Dragon Ball Z Sagas a free-form destructible sandbox game? Now, when you hear the word sandbox, you think of games like Grand Theft Auto, Infamous, Saints Row, these games with huge sprawling environments that you can do anything in. Apparently Atari thought that sandbox meant a single linear path with invisible walls, more invisible walls, and Remember that time when Goku fought a weird mist monster thing on planet Raddatz after learning instant transmission? Yeah, me neither, but that's a thing in this game. I hate how this game assumes I'm 5 years old and drooling out of the side of my mouth at all times. On Namek, you have to find all 7 Dragon Balls. And instead of having to face numerous challenges, explore environments, go on an adventure, you know, make a good game, they're all in plain sight on the way to Frieza. Like, not even cleverly hidden. And when anything happens, Bulma is always there just to make sure you understand what's going on.
You're still missing some Dragon Balls! Keep looking! Eliminate all enemies to advance! Frieza has summoned the Ginyu Force to fight you!
Yeah, I got it, you condescending blue-haired idiot! I haven't even mentioned the glitches yet. And that's really the worst part. The game is broken. It doesn't work. I love playing a game and going through boulders, or getting stuck on a crater, or awkwardly flying up after getting hit, or watching Frieza tweak out on a wall. Some boss attacks blow the ever-living crap out of you, but you take 0 damage. And this happens every time, so it's not so much a glitch as it is terrible programming. Some other one that happened to me that I wasn't able to record was fighting Android 18 and having her fall through the world, which made me have to restart the level, which meant about 10 to 15 minutes of punching robots just to get to her. Another one happened when I was fighting Frieza, and he just got, like, stuck underneath Goku's arms, completely still, like a plank of wood. Had to restart that level too. There's also this terrible one that happens making playing co-op a pain. Most stages it's normal, both players running around and fighting, but on certain boss fights, both players control one character. A timer switches control between players, but they each have their own health bars. But a glitch happens upon switching where the new player is stuck in lock-on mode, so they can't move, and they'll get killed, which forces a level restart. The worst one I experienced is fighting Android 19 as Vegeta. You fight him while Android 20 shoots Goku with eye lasers, so you need to protect Goku. After killing 19, 20 just kept shooting Goku. I shot him with energy blasts and Gallic guns and he just took it. He wasn't absorbing it, he was just taking it, and nothing happened. What's supposed to happen is after beating 19, Android 20 runs away. But for me, he stayed here shooting Goku until he died, and I failed. This happened 6 times. But hey, at least when you beat the game, you unlock some bonus characters. That's cool, right? Oh wait, they still all play the same. Tien, Yamcha, Bardock, Krillin. Oh hell yes! Broly! This is what I'm talking about. Oh hey Krillin, what's up? Bam! 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 You're dead! Woo! Look at this! This doesn't even make sense! I'm gonna go kill Raddatz! This is gonna be hilarious! Oh god! Why is Raddatz kicking my ass? I'm Broly! I barely hurt him! I don't understand what's happening! They couldn't even give me that! A superpowered character to blast through every fight in the game with ease would have been the only amount of fun this game could have given me! Every opportunity it had to be worth a damn, it screwed it up! That's why my final rating for this game is a Krillin out of 10. Anytime it feels like Dragon Ball Z Sagas is about to do something right, it goes terribly wrong. The controls feel loose, the camera sucks, the combat is excruciatingly boring, and there is zero variety to any of the characters or levels. The amount of invisible walls is aggravating. Every fight can be won through spamming or exploits, and the enemy AI is all the same. The only thing it got right was including a 2-player cooperative mode, and while it isn't very good, it's the only Dragon Ball Z game to have it, which is its only selling point. The whole game is unpolished, and even then, it doesn't have the potential to keep up with the other games. Sagas is too simplistic to be enjoyable. The forward path is always narrow, any kind of hidden item is practically in plain sight, the combat is just mashing buttons with no real thought to it, and I hate the constant messages that pop up from Bulma just to explain to you what's going on. This game is for babies! Hey, thanks for watching the video and sticking around. If you liked it, it's actually part of an entire Dragon Ball Z video game retrospective, and if you haven't seen that, you can click the video right there and start at the beginning. Or if you're in the mood for some other humorous review type videos, there's the Alone in the Dark review. You can click that and watch that. There's also that big ol' intrusive subscribe word, which if you click on that, you'll subscribe to me, which would mean a lot to me, because subscriptions is the biggest form of currency on YouTube. Well, so is dollars, but you can't click dollars.